So with the body to one side now and the glue curing on that, what we're going to do is look at our neck, and we're just putting together all our various different parts here. So we're going to be going with some purple heart as the centre section of the neck. On either side of that we've got some maple. We're going to be putting some black veneer then in between those bits of maple and then the side parts of our neck, and that will make up the bulk. Well, it will make up our neck blank, so that should look quite nice when we cut out the final neck shape on it. With our fretboard here, again it's a piece of maple, and we've got a bit of bird's eye in it in parts and that. But what we're going to do as well, we'll cut out our fretboard shape, and once we have the fret slots cut in that, we're going to glue some purple heart onto the side of that, and then we'll cut out our final neck shape. So we should have some nice purple heart binding all around the fretboard, at the top and at the sides and around the back as well. So we'll start to press on ahead with this. As you can see, all this purple heart and maple and everything else is completely wavy and all over the place. So we'll get a lot of this thickness down and jointed and all this, so we can start to think about gluing this up. Get rid of some of these crazy edges here, try and smooth them all out and get them ready, and we can start to glue up our neck blank. So we're getting ready to do our neck glue up now, and I'm not sure what parts I showed of this or what I didn't, but we've changed our original plan slightly. So we've got two maple wings to make up the bulk of the neck, and then inside that we've got a strip of black veneer, then another strip of maple, a strip of purple heart, more maple and more black veneer. So it just gives a nice decorative look, and the usual stuff and all about different woods and stability and whatnot that I'm sure you all know about. So the usual with our glue up, we'll just get some glue on, we'll spread it around with our brush, and we've got plenty of clamps over here to get the whole thing held together. So not much more to say other than time to start, and we'll get our glue on. And all these edges have been jointed and everything else to make sure they're all nice and flush and everything lines up. So we'll just press on ahead. So that's all our pieces put together in our glue-like sandwich, and we'll just start to get our clamps on now and try and get everything lined up and aligned as we do that. So yet another massively complicated glue up done, and we've used some cauls here on the end to keep things aligned on the back and the front. Definitely realising now that all our centre stripes, we should have jointed them and thicknessed them down to exactly the same as the neck, to make sure things are lined up a little bit easier. We planned on doing it afterwards, but never took it into account when doing it now. So we'll leave this aside for a couple of days to let the glue cure, and we'll come back to it then. So our neck has been clamped up for a couple of days now, so same old story. We're just going to take all the clamps off now and see how we got on. So here's our neck blank now out of the clamps, and it looks like we've got a pretty good joint. and we won't be able to tell until we plane down the surfaces to make sure, but it does look good. The black veneer on the side seems to be completely throwing my eye out, kind of trying to see whether there's a gap or not because of it. But it looks okay. Lots of glue squeeze out to get rid of, so we'll take off as much of that as we can, and then over to our planer thicknesser to completely smooth the whole thing out. So we're just using a little block plane here, and we're just using that to take off some of the heavy stuff and some of the old bits of glue and stuff like that, just to make it a bit easier for when we take it over to the planer thicknesser. And I have to say that I don't think Ben would even let me take part in the competition if I didn't use a hand plane at some stage during the build. So here's our neck blank off the planer and jointer now, and we've got a lovely join there all the way along, and we've just thrown our template back on to mark out our shape, and it's all looking kind of nice. And we've got some snipe here from the planer, but it's not going to matter because we'll be thicknessing down the headstock. And we cut it very close just here as well. We thought we had a lot more to play with, so that worked out just about. And we've got our centre line marked as well. And so our next step is going to be, we're going to route our truss rod channel. And as I said, the joint all came out fine. We did have one piece of concern just here where the joint isn't very good, but it's not going to matter because it's up here just off the headstock, so we're okay. So with that done, as we said, our next step will be to route our truss rod channel. So we've just set up a very quick jig here for routing out our truss rod channel. And we just have a long flat piece of wood here that we know has a straight edge, and then we've referenced that off the centre line of our neck blank here. We've got a nice wide base on our Triton router, and we're just going to go along and just route out the channel there. So I'm going to throw my PPE and just start to route this out. So that's our truss rod channel all routed out, and we've put in our truss rod now just as a test fit, and it's completely flush with the surface and even below slightly in parts. We got a few little nicks here and there when we were doing the first pass, just trying to make sure the router was going down properly, but it's okay. And as we said, we're going to be veneering over the top of this before we put our fingerboard down. So with that done, we can move on now to our next step. So we're just getting ready to mark out our fretboard here. As we said before, we're using a piece of maple here, and it's got some bird's eye in it and that, in some spots here. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to mark out the centre line, just all along the here. And then from there, we're going to take our Crimson Guitars fret ruler here and go for a 25.5-inch scale length, and we'll just use this. I'm just going to mark out all our fret positions, take our protractor, just mark them across the board then, and get ready to start cutting them out then. So as we said, just using our Crimson Guitars fret scale ruler here, and we're just on our centre line, and we can just start to mark out all our positions here. And then once we have that done, we said we can come back with our protractor, line everything up, and mark out all our fret positions then. So we've got all our fret slots marked out, and we just went over each of the lines with a little scalpel blade just to properly mark the exact position, and we've just done a test cut on one of the fret slots there. Now normally at this stage most people would go over to their big table saw and cut out their fret slots, but we're going to go over to this table saw, and we're going to use that to cut out our fret slots. So we were just about halfway through cutting out the fret slots there, and we realised we were using the wrong scale length. So we've got another piece of maple here, so we're just going to very quickly remake the fretboard and then recut the fret slots, etc., and we'll bring you back then. So that's our fret slots all cut out now on our replacement fretboard, and we've just roughly marked in the neck shape, and we've just marked roughly where our fret position indicators are or whatever. So with that all done now, next we're going to move on to actually doing the inlays and then getting ready to attach it to the neck. So we've got our neck blank here, and what we're going to do next is we're going to take it over to the bandsaw and we'll take off all this excess material. Then we'll reattach our template and we'll set up the router table and we'll route it out to its final shape. So we've got our neck roughly shaped out now after coming off the bandsaw, so it's kind of almost at its final shape. And what we've done is we've just reattached our neck template, the Perspex one here, just with super glue and masking tape, the trick we all know and love. So with that we now have our router table set up, and we've got our spiral bit in our router, and so we're just going to take it nice and easy and just go along and get our final shape on the neck. So that's our neck off our router table, all completely shaped on that. So it's just a case of then getting off our Perspex template. And as you all probably know with the masking tape and super glue trick, that's actually quite easy. That comes away nice and handy without any residue left on our neck here. So we're very happy with how that's come out. Made a small bit of sanding just up here on the corner, just where the end grain is there. But other than that, it's all good. So next we're going to move on and we'll take a look at our fingerboard.